What if I told you that your most natural reaction when someone challenges you is precisely what guarantees your defeat? Pay very close attention, because you're about to unlearn everything you know about power. There exists an instant, a silent decision in a fraction of a second that you make when someone confronts you, accuses you of something, challenges your worth. And in that instant, the ordinary person does what they've been conditioned to do. They defend themselves. I didn't mean it that way. You misunderstood me. I swear I'm not like that. It seems noble, reasonable, but for Machiavelli, it's the moment when you lose everything. Because the second you defend yourself, you admit you're weak enough to need to do so. And in power games, perception is reality. If they see you hesitate, they don't see a victim, they smell prey. This is the ruthless law that Machiavelli understood. The man who defends himself debases himself. The man who doesn't forces the world to defend him. If you understood this initial trap, stay alert, because now we're going to explore why this happens. Defending yourself rarely convinces anyone. What it does is transfer power away from you. Because when you justify your actions, you're playing on their field, you're accepting their framing. You're saying, you have the authority to question me. And once they have that, they own the narrative. Even if you're right, you look guilty, because only the weak rush to explain. The strong let the silence burn, let the accusation float untouched, because they know the real move is this: turn the accusation into a mirror, make them doubt themselves, make them appear emotional, obsessed, unstable. Whoever speaks first often loses control of the frame. And Machiavelli knew that whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. Most people defend themselves because they want to be understood. They believe that if they just explain enough, they'll be vindicated. But this belief comes from emotional weakness, not from strategy. You don't want clarity, you want control. Clarity is for therapy, control is for power. And power doesn't come from being understood, it comes from being feared, respected, and untouchable. So when someone calls you arrogant, cold, selfish, and you immediately say, no, you don't understand, you've already lost. You're now reacting. Now you're proving you care. Now you've put the ball in their court, and when you do that, you surrender the most Machiavellian thing you possess: mystery. If you found this valuable, I invite you to subscribe to Beyond Sanity right now. This isn't just another channel, it's a fortress where we build the architecture of power that the world tries to hide from you. Hit that subscribe button and join those who refuse to play by the rules of the weak. Now let's continue dismantling the illusion. Think about the most powerful people you've ever encountered, not the loudest ones. Those who wielded silence like a weapon. Those who made you doubt yourself with just a look. Those who, when attacked, never flinched. Machiavelli would tell you this: whoever explains submits, whoever remains silent forces others to fill the gaps, and they often overestimate you. That's the game. When you don't react, they become uncomfortable. They start doubting their own words. Suddenly, their power shrinks while yours expands. Because you did the only thing no emotional person can give you. You made them talk to themselves. That's how you flip power. You let their accusation die in the echo of their own weakness. Now let's apply this to a real scenario. Keep watching to see how this weapon works in public. You walk into a room, someone throws a jab, everyone turns to see what you're going to say. And this is your move. Say nothing. No defense, no retaliation, just a calm and total stillness. In that moment, you're untouchable, because everyone in the room is now forced to ask, why didn't he react? Does he know something we don't? Is he above this? You've just flipped the entire social frame because people aren't watching the accusation. They're watching your response. And silence, when delivered with presence, speaks louder than any justification. Machiavelli knew this. He studied psychology, and he understood one thing better than anyone. Power isn't in what you say. It's in what people believe you could say, but choose not to. But what if silence isn't enough? The coldest move is still to come. Sometimes you don't just ignore the accusation, you invert it. Someone calls you manipulative. Smile, look past them and say, if that's how you see it. Not defensive, just a cold detachment. What happens? They stumble because they expected a fight. Instead, they're left holding their own weapon. That's when the guilt settles on their side. They start wondering if they crossed the line. if they embarrass themselves, if they look insecure now. And they do. You just took the energy they threw at you and made them carry it without lifting a finger. There's a moment when silence becomes unbearable for those who expected a reaction. That's when the game flips. They thought they were the accusers. Now they're exposed as those begging for attention. And you've become something far more powerful than innocent. You've become untouchable. Machiavelli understood something that most will never comprehend. Words don't serve to clarify truth, but to obscure it. And when someone attacks you, they want you to fight in the fog. They want to drown you in explanations, because the more you explain, the less certain you seem. Instead, let them fill the silence. They exaggerate, repeat themselves, start to look desperate. You said nothing, but now they're the ones under judgment, because the crowd isn't listening to what's being said. They're watching who's calm and who's shaken. This is social power, and it doesn't come from being right. It comes from being untouchable. Pay attention to how this applies in professional and personal environments, because here the tactic becomes even more dangerous. In a business meeting, someone undermines you. I'm not sure that strategy was well thought out. They want you to take the bait. Most lean in, explain, prove, get nervous. The room smells it, but the Machiavellian operator leans back. He waits, maybe gives a slight smile, and if he speaks, it's not a defense, it's a redirection. Let's hear your strategy then. Now the attacker has to perform. The room turns. Suddenly they're being evaluated. They're under pressure. The silence of confidence is an accusation without words. In relationships, it's even more potent. Your partner says, "You don't care about me anymore." The ordinary person panics, validates the emotional frame. The Machiavellian approach is different. You don't argue. You let the weight of the accusation hang, then calmly respond, "That's not how I see it." Short, firm, no explanation. Now they feel uncertain, question their own tone. You held power over the emotional rhythm, and whoever controls the rhythm controls the frame. There's an even colder tactic, and if you understand this, you'll be at an elite level. Don't just stay calm when accused. Disappear. Someone insults you. Don't reply. Don't respond. Don't acknowledge. Let your absence settle like a mirror. Let them sit in the silence of being ignored. This breaks them. They realize you didn't even consider them worthy of a response. They start spinning internal narratives, destroying their own composure. Why? Because the ordinary person survives on emotional validation, even in conflict. If you take that away, they wither, they spiral, they try to bait a response, and with each new attempt, they look weaker, more obsessed, all while you remain perfectly still. And that's when you win. Not because you proved something, but because they destroyed themselves trying to get a reaction from you. Instead of defending yourself, make their accusation seem like a sign of weakness. Someone calls you arrogant. Strange how confidence makes people uncomfortable. Someone says you're manipulative. Only people who can't be influenced say that. You don't deny the accusation. You transform it into their insecurity, and now they're the ones scrambling to defend themselves. It's not a reversal. It's a judo strike of power. You used their force and converted it into their collapse. Machiavelli would call this the blade's turn. Don't meet the sword with a shield. Let the aggressor fall upon their own weapon. The world teaches you to defend your reputation, but Machiavelli saw the trap. He knew that the moment you chase innocence, you admit guilt. The true strategist never plays that game. Instead, he appears too composed to be shaken, too elevated to care. And slowly, those who try to bring him down start to look unstable, reactive, envious. Because the more you defend yourself, the more it looks like you need to. But the more you ignore, the more dangerous they presume you are. And that presumption is where power is born. Most people think power is about proving yourself, proving you're right, that you're not what they say. But Machiavelli would smile with disdain at that, because the second you try to prove anything, you've already declared the other person's judgment valid. And when you give someone that validation, you hand them your leash. Let's visualize the scene. Stay with me for the final execution. You're in a group, someone throws a public barb. You always act like you know everything. Most tense up, try to laugh it off, or worse, respond with an explanation. What they're really doing is confirming the hit landed. Everyone watches the defense, and it makes the barb seem true. Here's what the Machiavellian does. Pause. Hold silence for 2 seconds. Sweep the room with a look of silent amusement. Then, if necessary, offer something calm, precise, and dismissive. You seem emotional today. The aggressor shifts, fidgets, looks for support. He feels the heat of the room shifting toward him because your lack of reaction just told the room something louder. You're not the one under judgment, they are. In the digital arena, things escalate even faster. Comments, posts, exposures. Here's the truth. In the court of public opinion, silence denotes guilt unless your silence commands fear. When attacked online, don't defend, don't explain, reframe. Someone says you're toxic. Instead of a tearful defense, you post, "People always call you dangerous when they can't control you. You didn't defend yourself. You reframed the accusation as a badge of power. Now they look bitter. You look unmoved. And the audience starts questioning who's in control. This isn't damage control, it's narrative domination. There are 3 tools you can use instead of defending. Silence, the default. It leaves them exposed. Deflection, reframe the narrative. Precision cuts, short, sharp truths. Someone says you're full of yourself. Respond. Confidence disturbs the insecure. They say you're fake. Respond. I don't owe you authenticity. They say, you think you're better than everyone? Respond. No, I just don't think like everyone. These aren't defenses. They're status assertions. They say, you can't touch me, and that's the core. The Machiavellian never begs to be seen as good. He dares people to see him as bad and walks taller for it. When you refuse to defend yourself, something happens to your enemies. They become unbalanced because they expected a battle and they're striking smoke. They escalate, push harder, get more dramatic. And the more they do this, the more you rise. Why? Because you made them execute their own collapse. And that's the final Machiavellian game. You don't destroy your enemies. You let their obsession with you destroy them. You think being misunderstood is dangerous, but being predictable is far worse. The misunderstood man has mystery. The predictable man is easy to manipulate. People who are always trying to clarify things are seen as desperate. People who remain calmly misunderstood are feared. Machiavelli knew, it's better to be feared than loved, but even more, it's better to be confusing than predictable. Let's crush the final illusion. You don't need a good reputation to win. You need a strong reputation. The man with a good reputation is expected to be nice. The man with a strong reputation isn't always liked, but no one dares move against him casually. That's what happens when you never defend yourself. Your reputation doesn't become about what people believe, but about what they fear you'll do next. That's how you flip power. You stop fighting for approval and instead create an aura that makes people cautious. The final evolution isn't silence, it's aura. A presence so composed, so secure, that accusations evaporate before landing. This doesn't come from being emotionless, it comes from being unshakable by design. Because once you've trained yourself not to defend, not to explain, not to seek validation, you cross a line where your existence becomes the defense, and that's when power becomes effortless. Think about those few people who never explain themselves, don't post rants, don't argue, and yet people respect them more. Why? Because silence in the face of accusation creates a myth, invites interpretation, and the human mind fills the void with strength. People assume you must be dangerous, know something they don't. That assumption is what makes people follow you. Machiavelli didn't care about being good. He cared about being in control. Here's the final paradox, the key to social leverage. The more you explain yourself, the more alone you look. But if you remain calm, unmoved, people feel the impulse to defend you. They say, that was unnecessary. He didn't deserve that. Suddenly, they become your shield. And what's better than defending yourself? Letting others do it for you without asking. That's Machiavellian leverage. Let the crowd defend your cause while you remain above the noise. Now you're not just respected, you're elevated. This doesn't happen overnight. You build it like a fortress. Start here. Never correct insults meant to provoke. Use short closing phrases. Noted. Time will tell. Each one closes the door. Study how you hold your face, your body. Stillness is your armor. And the more still you are while others lose control, the more your power expands. When people don't know how to provoke you, they fear you. You become unreadable, a mirror that reflects their instability. Machiavelli would say, the most dangerous man isn't the one who attacks first, it's the one who never needs to. You'll reach a point where attacks cease, not because you fought them, but because people know they'll lose before they start. Your presence says, I don't play defense, I let others destroy themselves. There's a difference between strength and immunity. Strength still reacts. Immunity doesn't even acknowledge the blow. That's the Machiavellian ideal. You don't win the argument. You end it before it begins by never needing to answer it. When you no longer defend yourself, people stop seeing you as someone to be judged. You've moved beyond the court of public approval, and the only judgment that matters is yours. From this point forward, you don't live in defense, you live in definition. You define your image, your tone, your silence, and people feel it. The certainty in your eyes, the calm in your posture, the danger in your quietness. You're no longer resisting, you're commanding. And that's when the room changes. The crowd speaks less, your enemies grow quieter. Your name carries weight, not because you fought for it, but because you never explained it. If you've made it this far, if you've crossed through every word and felt their weight, you're not just a spectator, you're a survivor. A survivor of the incessant noise that teaches us to beg for validation. You've looked into the abyss of others' perception and didn't retreat. And for that, I acknowledge you. Know that even in this silence, your internal journey has already begun. The seed of quietness has been planted. The decision to no longer justify yourself is germinating somewhere deep in your consciousness, and it will not die. Therefore, I invite you to a symbolic act, not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, but as a seal of your understanding. If this message resonated with you, comment below the phrase, "My quietness is my answer." This isn't a comment, it's a silent declaration, a reminder to yourself that you no longer need to enter battles that don't serve your power. And by subscribing to Beyond Sanity, you're not just clicking a button, you're joining a fortress, a place where we declare we're ready to carry the weight of our own aura instead of seeking the relief of others' approval. On this channel, there are no polished mirrors to reflect what you want to see. There are only fragments of naked truth, the kind most fear, but which is the only one that can truly liberate. Every video you'll find here isn't entertainment, it's a key. And each key opens a door to a room that already exists within you. Go now and let your silence be your definition, not your defense.